Welcome to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection, the City of Crawfordsville's weekly podcast that comes out every Monday morning. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and I'm joined in the studio every week with Mayor Todd Barton to keep our community up to date on current events, city workings, and to hear from community members on a variety of topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome back to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and today I'm joined in the studio by Mayor Todd Barton.
Hello.
Hello. And we have a special guest today.
We do. A very special guest.
Very special guest. We might get...
There's a voice for this.
I know. We might get out radioed on here.
I think we will.
Yes.
I know
we have Dave Peach with us.
It is so good to be here.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. We're happy to have you here, Dave. And we're going to talk all about Crawfordsville Radio and the Peach Cast and all that you do for our community.
We have a podcast talking about a podcast.
Yeah. Kind of fun.
Huh? How about that?
Kind of fun. Well, before we get started, Mayor, do you have any announcements?
I do. I will have my community forum for July on Saturday, July 26th from 11 a.m. to noon at Pike Place. And so if you think about that, the farmer's market will be going on. Yep. So I'll be up on the stage area out of the way of the market. But 11 to noon on Saturday, July 26th. So if you have a question, a suggestion, complaint, whatever, come see me.
Yeah. Go down and maybe get some breakfast, buy some local goods,
yep.
And come talk to the mayor.
Come talk to me.
Awesome. Yep. Well, now, Dave, we will jump over to you. Let's start off. I'm sure people know who you are, but let's talk about who is Dave Peach and, what are you all about?
Wow. Well, I've been on the radio since 1978. I started in high school at a radio station in Columbus, Indiana, and I just kind of went with it. I did public address at baseball games in high school, and it's just kind of progressed from there. People ask me how I started. I just, for some reason, I admired broadcasters and wanted to be a big Johnny Carson fan, big Bob Barker fan.
Yeah.
You remember Bob Barker?
Yeah.
He was so smooth, and over the years, just kind of emulated them and. Maybe develop my own style along the way. And 47 years later, here I am, or 48.
Yeah. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Cool stuff there.
Yes. And so you are the general manager for Forked Broadcasting, which oversees WCDQ, WIMC, and WCVL. And, what would you say with all these, they're local radio stations, what would you say is your favorite part about living and working in a community like ours?
Meeting the people, going out to, a chamber breakfast, going to Strawberry Festival, going to the fair, interacting with the people, seeing them. And, over 18 years here in Crawfordsville, we started here in 2007. Over the years, just relationship by relationship, getting to know the community and watching the community grow. And, I drove yesterday, I was listening to this podcast, which we'll talk about later. It's on the radio. And I said, Pike Place, it wasn't here when I got here, Veterans Memorial Park, the Early Learning Center, driving to Crawfordsville High School for an interview, watching this community grow and watching this community compete is exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely growing. We drove out past Arbor Homes and they're popping up faster and faster.
Yeah, when you're here every day, you kind of are numb to it, I think. And then I'll hear from people all the time that come back to visit and they're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
A lot of change in Crawfordsville. But for a while, we were trying to keep track of all the things that's happened in the last decade or so. And we've lost track.
It's hard to do.
It's hard to do. So many different things. If you think about all the different, just everything from A to Z that's happened here.
Yeah. And Dave, for you, you talked about going to all these events. Your family is also very involved in the community.
Well, my son is, has done everything at Rock Point Church, and that's a good thing. And even another good thing is the fact that he is now going to go to a church in Speedway and help them out the way he has helped Rock Point the last 3 years. So it's a bittersweet, as they say. And my wife, who is a couple of blocks away, a stone's throw. She started out at the insurance office with Ron Love, who was a pillar of the community, and started there part-time and now owns the business.
That's awesome.
So, and she's with me pretty much every event, most of them. and Matthew has helped out over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So we're happy to help where we can, and certainly, being at the events and supportive of the community is something that we've always done, and we've continued that in our years here in Crawfordsville.
That's incredible. Mayor, do you want to speak to, Dave's leadership in the community and what having him here has done for us?
We're very fortunate, to have that stability in our local broadcasting, and then somebody who's so involved like Dave. I mean, we kind of take it for granted, and trust me, you don't see that in a lot of communities. So we're very, very fortunate to have the entire family here, and Fork Broadcasting's been good for this community. They do a very nice job of serving the community, if you will, and providing us something that we really need. I think back to the pandemic, and the radio stations were an integral part of what we did and how we communicated. When things were literally changing daily, sometimes multiple times a day, very rapidly.
Right.
They were a conduit for us to communicate with the community. So really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, let's talk about some of the radio stations. We've got these 3 different stations, and each are a little bit different. Do you want to talk about what they are and who is the audience for each?
Sure. WCDQ 106.3 is a country station. It plays contemporary country music, and its audience is probably, 18 and up.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of ages that can listen to country music, and because it's contemporary, you can reach a younger audience with that. WIMC is classic rock. It's on 103.9, and it is the same music that we've heard since the 70s, but people still love it, okay?
Yep.
Styx, Aerosmith, Rolling Stones, all those bands, Foreigner and REO Speedwagon, and they're moving up a little bit with some of the hair bands and things like that. But it's classic rock on 103.9, and you're probably going to go 35 plus, 40 plus on that. And then WCVL is the OG. It was on AM, still is on AM 1550, started in 1964. It is classic hits, and that is hits of the 70s, 80s, and they're getting into the 90s. So getting a little, hearing a little Lisa Loeb and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Sorry, folks, they're now oldies.
Yeah. It's been a few years since then. It sounds like yesterday, but it's really not.
Yeah, crazy. And something else that you do on the radio station is the 5 o'clock report. You want to talk about what that is? How did it get started, and what is the mission of having a daily report?
We have always done local interviews since I got here. And when the pandemic hit, there was so much information. And what we noticed is that everything pretty much settled down at 5 o'clock. It was coming in. The mayor lived it. We all lived it. But, the governor was having news conferences every day. The health departments at the state level, national level, local level were giving information constantly. And, we were on the air doing everything we could to report it live. And we noticed that at 5 o'clock, things kind of settled down. And so it was a good time to sum up everything that happened that day. And sometimes the mayor was on, sometimes Dr. Scott Douglas was on. We had a lot of guests. There were a lot of people not we had Kristen Airy from the Pacers. I mean, we were pulling big guests because they didn't have anything to do.
Right.
Hate to say that. But we were, so we started 5 o'clock report. We had, we called it that. And we had myself, Matt Allen, and Cody Emerson were the primary hosts. We were there every day at 5 o'clock and guiding people through the pandemic. And after the pandemic lasted, a year and a half, something like that. I can't remember. And we decided just to keep it because it was a good place for people to tune to hear local interviews, as opposed to randomly playing them at 9 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock. So now when we talk to the mayor, when we talk to, Tom Klein, when we talk to Dave Long, when we talk to, leaders in the community or, newsmakers in general, people know at 5 o'clock on 106.3, they're going to hear local information. We're also going to put in the local events. So we've kept it. And here we are in 2025.
That's awesome.
It was like the place to be at 5 o'clock during the pandemic. I mean, everybody was tuned in. They really were. I mean, everybody knew, go there and you'll get the summary of what's happened today at the local level, state level, and national level.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And something that we just started is, as of last week, when this comes out, we have started to run our general update. So our monthly general update from this podcast will be on the 5 o'clock report.
Heard it last night, and I was driving around and seeing the cars, and driving, and those folks driving, they're listening to the radio, and this is a good way for you to get out, and they're going to find out what the podcast is all about, and the goal there is to draw more people to your podcast and use the radio and just work it that way.
Yeah, we're hoping, we'll capture some different listeners. I know
for sure.
We have our people who listen, monthly, weekly.
We have some very loyal listeners, and we're thrilled with that.
Yes.
Yeah. I hear from them sometimes. I run into people, they're like, hey, I listen to every podcast. It's great, so. And then you go to farmers market and people lining
I found
up.
People at the farmers
market. You got
market.
fans there,
Yes.
So it's
Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So, I mean, this is just a really great way to communicate, and pushing it out on the radio is going to make it even better.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely. And I think, we're doing it with our general update because that is sometimes our most informative, depending on the topic.
Yeah.
But that covers everything.
It's everything from A to Z.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to grow that reach, because I still have a lot of people ask questions. I'm like, have you listened to the podcast? I don't know what that is. So we still got to reach a lot of people. But I tell everybody it's pretty much all there. We don't hold anything back or hide anything.
Yeah.
Except the really deep secrets.
Yeah.
Just kidding, folks.
Just kidding.
We could throw some things in there too, like the new Starbucks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we
listen up, folks.
Listen up. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it right here. So when we're able to tell you, we will tell you. I mean, sometimes in economic development, that's a different world, and we're under non-disclosure agreements and those kind of things. But once we can tell you, we're gonna put it right out there, and we'll be fully transparent. I just believe in that.
Absolutely. And Dave, you've talked about emphasizing on local content. Why is that so important?
They're not going to get it anywhere else. And it's what radio stations should do. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to throw a name out. There's a guy in Columbus, Indiana, who is one of my mentors, and his name is Sam Simmermaker. Now, you probably do not know the name, but he did games it was over 60 years. He retired last year at the age of 90, doing games in Columbus, Indiana. Everybody in Columbus knows Sam Simmermaker. His reporting is amazing, or was, he retired last year, but was amazing. And, I looked at Sam, and I competed against Sam. And, when I got here to Crawfordsville, I said, I'm going to do things like Sam does them.
Yeah.
And it's worked. Okay. Method acting, whatever you want to call it. But, I do it because I care, and in that spirit, that's what local broadcasting is about. It's about being involved in the community, cheering for the community, enjoying being in the community, enjoying to get to know people, and it has really, it's just been such a wonderful experience here in Crawfordsville, and we're not done yet.
Yes, absolutely.
We are not done yet.
Not done.
Yeah. I remember the Stellar process, and the radio stations were very involved in that process. And, they were in our corner, and they were providing live coverage and all those kinds of things. And there were tons of people listening because we heard from them, like, I listened to the whole thing live. It was unbelievable. So, yeah. Yeah.
Dave, we talk about the radio, and a lot of your stuff is recorded, or, you've got the music that's going on, but live broadcasts are also a very important part. Why is that so important to our radio stations?
It's a chance to get in front of people and to talk to them directly. And that, we do broadcast, and, we go on the air, we talk, but in the breaks, people will come up to us and we'll interact with with them. Some of them will even hang out in the booth for a little while and chat. So you get that direct connection to the community. I always joke, if you don't like something on a major network or a major social media outlet, there's no person to call.
Right.
I'm thinking I'll call Facebook and complain.
Yeah.
With me, you can call me. There's 50-50 chance I'll answer the phone, or when we do events, you will see me and be able to talk to me, much like when the mayor does a community forum. We're there, and it's one of those things that it's just good to interact with the community in a personal way, and it is something that I joked. I said, I just don't know if this AI thing's going to replace me in a tent in New Richmond,
right?
For 8 hours. I just don't
Right.
think AI is going to be there. Jokingly, old guy here. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and I think, the local presence is so important, in that live presence. I've seen other communities go through the situation where they lose that local control over their radio stations.
Mhm.
And, that's not a place we want to be. I mean,
Right.
it is so important to have that here. And not every community has that
Yeah.
nowadays. Things have been consolidated and they've got something that's programmed somewhere else. And yes, the tower's local, but it's not a local,
Right.
community station anymore.
Right. So, what types of events do you cover where you do that live broadcasting?
Well, let's start with the Soil and Water Conservation District annual meeting. That usually happens in February, and it rolls on from there. We do Strawberry Festival, the Taste of Montgomery County 4-H Fair, all the high school play-by-play events, if we throw those in as far as live events. Airport Day,
Yeah.
Oktoberfest,
Mm-hmm.
and the parade.
Yeah.
And it just kind of rolls on through, and then other events that are sprinkled throughout, like an anniversary at a business, or
Yeah.
when we have a ribbon cutting at a early learning center. Those pretty much populate the whole year.
Yeah. There's
Might be
always something going on.
Might be a race this fall too. Right?
And then there's that.
Just a little one, right?
Yeah,
Just a little race.
We hear there's going to be a little race this
Yes,
fall.
the parade that is coming early October, we're kind of planning the local coverage of the parade. We know it's going to be national, but interacting with local people about what they feel about what's going on.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty cool. So, Dave, you also talk about, interacting with people, but you're in the entertainment business too. You get to do some fun things.
We listen to radio, we listen to music every day, and I don't want to lose sight of that. We have fun. We do contests. We do funny things. Try to entertain. We're always trying to entertain as well as inform. That's something that we take having fun very seriously. How about that? And I think that's kind of where the swap shops. We do a swap shop every Friday morning at 10 o'clock, and sometimes on the 5 o'clock report, get a little wacky, but the swap shop at 10 o'clock, that's where I'll really throw in random thoughts and things that are happening in the community that are more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have some downtime on that, right? You got to kind of fill it in, right?
You do, we kind of, I'll have a few little things in my mind, and I'll usually get to 2 of them. If I get to 3 the third one's always kind of a loser.
That's been around forever. Swap Shop has been around.
I know,
forever. I mean, I remember that for decades. It's been around.
Yeah, it's a tradition. 10 o'clock on Friday morning, Swap Shop, and it's still there. In 2025, we're still doing Swap Shop.
That's awesome. And then you also have hometown happenings on Fridays with the Visitors Bureau.
That is every Friday at 11:30 with Dave Long. We go over every community event that's happening pretty much the weekend. We focus on the weekend, but then we get into other events as well. And as Dave says every time, people say there's nothing happening in Crawfordsville. Well, after 20 events, 25 events that are going to be happening in the next 2 weeks or so, you realize very quickly that is not the case.
Yeah. There's so much to do. You have to choose.
You have to pick and
Really?
choose.
Yeah. There's no. I mean, last weekend, all the fireworks and all the activity at a rodeo and all sorts of activities everywhere.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, in conjunction with the radio stations, you also have the Crawfordsville Peach Cast.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about what the Peach Cast is.
Well, it is more entertainment based now. Dave Myers, my co-host, and we've been going over movies and different things. It's something that we do the podcast and we run it on Saturday morning at 9:00, and it's really it's kind of gotten into a situation where I'm able to entertain people on the Peach Cast. We hope. We started out doing local people, and I was thinking about maybe going back and rolling through that roster of folks that we talked to, because we started 3 years ago. And, we'll put, when we do the Chamber of Commerce annual awards dinner, we'll put those on the podcast and along with the entertainment segments. But, it's kind of evolved over the years into more entertainment. We do a lot of the local interviews on the 5 o'clock report. And, there's some things that we're thinking about as far as, putting those on a podcast. But, it comes down to having the time to do it. But, it's a local podcast, and we hope people enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. If people want to listen to that, where can they find it?
They can find it on Apple and Spotify. And like I said, we run episodes at 9:00 on Saturday on 103.9 WIMC.
Okay. Who has been your favorite guest or story that you've had from the podcast?
Wow. We through a connection, I'm able to talk to the TV voice of the Atlanta Braves. His name is Brandon Gaudin. And, Brandon does a lot of games on Fox. He does a lot of games on for the Braves, obviously, every game for the Braves, and basketball, football. But he is also the voice of the Madden video game, which is kind of interesting to hear him talk about how he has to, record that. And then also, and this is for really old people, we had the amazing Kreskin on. You don't know who you don't.
I know
He's a psychic. He died recently. He was on the old talk shows with Johnny Carson and all of that, and even he was on with Jimmy Kimmel a couple of times. So those are a couple of the folks that we've had on the show over the years.
Very cool.
Glad you don't ask me that question. Favorite guest on our podcast?
Wow.
Yeah.
I
love them all.
You'd
They're
be
all
losing,
awesome.
wouldn't you?
They've all been awesome.
Yes.
You were asking unique.
Unique.
Yeah.
We've had some unique folks.
We've had unique guests on the
Yes.
podcast. Yeah. At one time I did an episode on how many different guests we'd had.
Yes.
Those numbers are way behind now. So
I know. We've got, quite
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Quite a few. Well, Dave, how can the community continue to support our local radio?
Well, the first thing is listen. And as they say, listen to our sponsors and do business with them. That would be the best thing. Or I've heard some people say thank the sponsors, because that reinforces the fact that they're listening and they're hearing it, and they may not have a need for a new roof or a new car, or I always say everybody can go to a restaurant, but not everybody can buy a roof this week.
Right.
It's two different things. But tell our customers that you heard them, and if you do want to, we can talk to you about running commercials on the radio station and all the programs that we have, and from Swap Shop to the high school events and the ag shows and that, and those are really, and just come up to us at a remote and tell us what you like.
Absolutely.
Or not like it. It's up to you.
Yeah.
You say, listen, I have to go back and forth to Indianapolis a lot. I can listen to 106.3 all the way to Indianapolis. I mean, it's good the entire way. So now in Indianapolis, you kind of lose it some, but all the way to the west side of Indianapolis, I can tune into 106.3.
It's awesome. And I think we talk about this a lot. It's be here, be known, right?
Yep.
In Crawfordsville.
Yep.
And, with the support of our local radio, you're supporting our local businesses, they're supporting our local radio, and everyone has that opportunity to be connected because it is local supporting local here.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, Dave, before we wrap up, I've just got, some fun questions. We're in the entertainment business too, right, Mayor?
You are, Sarah.
Yes.
I'm not very entertaining.
Sure you are. Sure you are. Well, Dave, what is your absolute favorite local event to cover?
Okay.
Let's go put him on the
I
spot.
know.
I'm sorry. I did look at you gave me the questions in advance, so there's a couple of them. I love the Strawberry Festival, and being there and seeing the entertainment and seeing the people and seeing everything that is there. There is so much to talk about. You can't really get to it.
Right.
We could do a broadcast from the arts and crafts area. I can imagine, we never get back there. And we talk, hey, go to the arts and crafts area. I'm sure there are so many stories of the people back there that we could do a week's worth of shows on what they do and where they go and where they're from and all of that. Kids area with all of the activity over there, all the food, and then the entertainment. Now, we pretty much focus on the musical acts because they come in and they're more apt to want to talk on the radio and things like that. So, but there's just so much going on, and then that interaction with people and Queen and her chord, and it's just, I mean, it's a 5-ring circus going on, And then the Christmas parade.
Yes.
I love the Christmas parade. It's you always hope for a nice sunny day or maybe a little snow, but certainly no rain. But, getting ready for that. And I've had the opportunity to describe the parade while Dave Long broadcasts on the radio. But those are two, and I know I'm leaving some out. But I guess the cold and the spring, but those two events are they kind of complement each other.
Yeah, I think those are two big events that happen in our community that everyone looks forward to every year.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I've got to know, what's your go-to song to play on the air?
Okay. Anything yacht rock.
Okay.
Anything. Christopher Cross, Michael McDonald, Steely Dan, Kenny Loggins, Baby Come Back by Player. Any of those mellow 70s, 80s, James Ingram Jr., they just kind of hit for me, and I've continued to listen to those for many, many years.
Yes. Mayor, what would your go-to song be?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
You're not as prepared.
I am not as prepared for that question. I don't know how I would approach that, so don't know.
Okay. And your best on-air memory?
Well, the mayor talked about this, and I remember 2015, and it must have been a really hot year as far as temperature goes. I haven't looked back in the annals of weather stats, but I remember that when we went into the building where we're going to have the Stellar Award in 2015, the first thing that hit me was, wow, it's air conditioned in here.
We were at the State Fairgrounds.
State Fairgrounds, yes.
Okay.
We were at State Fairgrounds, and it was a building. I go, wow, there's AC. This is wonderful.
It was a barn, basically, and but it did have AC. Yeah.
And we took pictures, and Brandy was there, and Bob Cox was there. So many people were there. And, we're doing a live broadcast, and, if we didn't get it, it would have been kind of, we've been okay. Better luck next time.
Wouldn't have been near as much fun.
You're right.
No. But took a chance, did it, and they're on the stage. We got the award, and Pike Place and all the things that have happened, and it's been Fusion 54. It was a big moment, and at that point, that's like the old sports analogy. The 15-footer at the buzzer went in.
Yeah.
And we got it.
Yeah. Everybody was listening live. So, we were there participating, and everybody back here is on pins and needles.
Right.
Not just in Crawfordsville, this entire region everybody was on pins and needles, and they could listen to it live.
Yeah.
And they found out when we found out, although behind the scenes, we kind of had a sneaking suspicion. We felt pretty good about it. A couple of things happened that morning, that we thought, these are signs like we feel good about this. I won't say what those were, but we felt a little bit better, but we didn't know until the announcement was made. And for everybody to get to participate in that and experience that excitement and that fun was really, really cool. And we really appreciated them coming. Then we went on and did immediate live interviews to talk about it. I always said that was when we won, to get up there and speak was probably the toughest speaking part that I've ever had, because one, I didn't really prepare anything. I didn't want to jinx myself. I want to prepare remarks, and then we didn't win. But number two, like, you had the people who just lost sitting right in front of you, crying their eyes out. So you're elated, you're excited, and here's another city and their team sitting there just devastated.
Yeah.
And I knew that. We had been there. We had been in that role. So how do you ease their pain a little bit and kind of console them and encourage them at the same time? You want to kind of high five. So it was tough, but everybody got to listen to it. I had so many people remark, I listened to this, I listened to that. So it was awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, Dave, thank you so much for being here. We know you're obviously busy in all sorts of places. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just thanks, everybody. Thanks to everybody at the chamber, the city, all of our advertisers. And like I said earlier, we are not done yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome.
Good stuff. We're very fortunate here.
Yes. Well, Dave, thank you so much for all that you do for our community. We really appreciate it. And, Dave mentioned a bunch of these events. You can find all of those on Yodel, our Community Connections calendar and newsfeed, where everything is in one easy, convenient location. And there is plenty of things to be doing in our community, contrary to popular belief. There's plenty to do. So check that all out on Yodel. And as always, if you have podcast topics or things you'd like to hear about, please feel free to reach out and let us know. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook at City of Crawfordsville Official, on Twitter at City of Seville, and on Instagram at City of Crawfordsville. We hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait for you to join us next week.